The chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with unrest as representatives from over 67 species filled their seats. The convocation was not ceremonial this time, it was a session of ultimatum. Earth, the only non-compliant civilization within reach of Council influence, had ignored every protocol, message, and ambassadorial effort extended for over 9 standard cycles. They had never attacked, never responded, never joined any coalition. Their silence had gone from diplomatic anomaly to existential threat. The High Speaker of the Council, a being older than 2 Council civilizations combined, addressed the gathering with a voice that echoed through the halls. The human species has disregarded our formal treaties, refused trade, bypassed integration, and refused to even acknowledge the Council's authority. This is the final warning. We either bring them in or classify them as hostile. The declaration wasn't unexpected, yet it still sparked murmurs. Not because it was aggressive, but because it was desperate. Behind diplomatic niceties, the Council feared Earth. Not for what it had done, but for what it had refused to do. Refusing to speak, refusing to participate, refusing to be known, that was alien behavior in a galaxy ruled by politics and surveillance. When Earth's representative arrived, it caused more noise than a war declaration. Not because of what he said, but because he said nothing. A solitary figure in matte black formalwear entered the central chamber, walked with deliberate calm to the assigned podium, stood silently for exactly 3 minutes as the room fell into anticipatory quiet, then turned and walked out. No gesture, no glance, no transmission. No emotion. Panic settled in subtle ways. The same room that had handled decades of disputes and thousands of interstellar agreements suddenly felt small. What did it mean? A delayed tactic? A calculated insult? A signal of war? No one could tell. That uncertainty was the crack that began to run through the foundations of the Council's perceived control. In response, the High Speaker authorized one final communique to Earth. It was concise, translated in over 1,000 frequencies, and simultaneously broadcast across the Sol system. We demand an answer. Join or be considered a destabilizing force. Failure to respond within 3 cycles will result in enforcement action. Earth did not reply. As the days passed, Council analysts parsed Earth's past responses, or lack thereof, again and again. None of it made strategic sense. Every civilization, when confronted with overwhelming galactic authority, either resisted and perished or assimilated and survived. But Earth neither bowed nor broke. They simply existed. Their ships didn't cross borders. Their satellites ignored Council beacons. Their colonies, few and silent, operated without trade, without dependency, without need. Several Council factions began speculating if Earth was truly under human control or something else. AI overlords, perhaps, or some silent techno-theocratic regime. That possibility terrified even the warlike species, because no one could confidently argue against it. A minor skirmish near the edges of Proxima's orbit resulted in an unregistered human probe effortlessly jamming 2 Council cruisers without physical contact. It didn't attack. It didn't even acknowledge them. It simply made them stop working, drift off course, and triggered a return-to-base protocol the ships couldn't override. The message was clear: humans were listening, watching, and capable of disabling without damage. Still, a coalition of 12 Council species voted in favor of further escalation. The vote barely passed, the margin too slim for comfort. The Council decided to summon Earth one final time to explain itself before full sanctions, blockades, and potential force were authorized. Another silent envoy arrived. Identical to the last. Same dark uniform. Same expressionless face. Same total silence. He stood in the Council chamber for exactly 3 minutes. This time, several delegates shouted, demanded answers, accused Earth of arrogance, accused the envoy of warmongering. The envoy didn't react. Not a blink. Not a muscle twitch. After the allotted time, he turned, exited, and left the room colder than before. One delegate whispered what everyone else thought but dared not say aloud. What if they already know everything we're about to do, and they simply don't care? By the end of the session, the final vote had passed. Earth would be classified as a rogue entity if no reply arrived within the remaining cycle. But there was no victory in the decision. Only unease. Because across the entire council, not one species had yet found a way to understand humanity's silence. And now they had to prepare for what that silence meant. Humanity's silence didn't start as defiance. It began with curiosity. When the first interstellar signal from the Galactic Council reached Earth, it was acknowledged, decoded, studied, and ignored. Not out of arrogance, but caution. The message promised inclusion, access to advanced knowledge, diplomatic unity, but came laced with presumptions that Earth was beneath them, that humans would leap at the chance to belong. Earth noted the tone and made a quiet decision: not yet. Contact probes sent by various council members were intercepted discreetly. No retaliation, no response, just disappearance. Sensors from scout ships near the Kuiper Belt confirmed unusual phenomena: cloaked fields, erratic gravitational readings, artificial constructs, but none of them transmitted reliable data back. The few vessels that did return offered conflicting reports: massive structures hidden in solar orbit, weaponless drones capable of evading scans, unidentified signals that mimicked the scouts' own communications, as if Earth was already inside their systems before arrival. The Council's second attempt was more deliberate. Delegates from trusted species landed on the Moon, hoping to initiate contact in neutral territory. Their craft vanished. Not destroyed, just absent from space-time records, as though it had never existed. Every instrument aboard their monitoring ships suffered data corruption. All sensor logs for that time frame returned identical static, embedded with a line of binary code that translated to *, we observe. That is all, *. The Council interpreted this as a primitive barrier, a language gap. But when translation AIs reconstructed Earth's media archives, they found thousands of languages, all refined, expressive, advanced. There was no misunderstanding. Earth had chosen silence. Trade was the next route. The Council sent offers of rare metals, star charts, genetic enhancements, even limited access to their interstellar energy grid. Earth returned none of them. Instead, it launched its own vessels, unarmed, sleek, autonomous ships that parked just outside Council-aligned systems and remained stationary. Council probes approached, but their systems malfunctioned. Drones sent to investigate never returned. The ships didn't attack. They merely hovered unmoving, broadcasting nothing. Their presence was a statement: we are watching you too. Speculation grew. Was Earth governed by something other than humans? No visible leadership structure had ever been confirmed. Council operatives embedded in Earth's orbit were unable to hack their networks. Every attempt ended in complete lockdown of their infiltration platforms. The longer Earth remained quiet, the more the Council struggled to comprehend who or what was behind it. Rumors spread through unaligned sectors. Human technology wasn't just equal, it was cleaner, faster, and unfathomably efficient. Mining guilds operating near the asteroid belt discovered automated human operations extracting rare materials at speeds their systems couldn't replicate. These human-run machines operated without visible crew, without communication trails, without error. No sign of governance, no political factions, no infighting. No transmission of ideology, propaganda, or need. In a galaxy built on diplomacy and hierarchy, this total lack of messaging was more terrifying than open aggression. Species with long histories of dominance began to hesitate. If Earth wasn't afraid of the Council, and refused to trade, negotiate, or align, then perhaps it had no need for anything they offered. Some theorized Earth had long surpassed the Council's technological ceiling. Others believed humanity had found something more, something beyond politics, something post-conflict. One recovered drone from a failed espionage mission revealed fragments of data that stunned even the most seasoned analysts. Earth's defense grid wasn't centralized. It was decentralized, self-modifying, and anticipatory. It predicted intrusion patterns with near-perfect accuracy, adjusting systems in real time without human input. And it had allowed the drone to leave, just barely, leaking only one cryptic message from an unknown source: *, we do not attack. But we prevent. Asterisk. The deeper the Council investigated, the more they realized the gap wasn't just military or scientific, it was philosophical. Earth did not want conquest, approval, or assimilation. It wanted distance. It did not seek to dominate. It simply refused to be drawn in. The final piece of the puzzle came from an independent trader who, by chance, recovered a data node from a defunct orbital station on the edge of the Sol system. It contained one message, brief and chilling in its simplicity. Asterisk, we will not be governed by fear, need, or promise. We are complete. Asterisk. From that point on, no Council species could confidently say whether silence was Earth's strategy, or its doctrine. What was certain was that Earth was no longer viewed as a passive outlier, but as a civilization so advanced, so inwardly sovereign, that it no longer saw any necessity in conversation. The Council chamber no longer echoed with unified resolve. Where once stood unshakable confidence, now fractured whispers filled the air. Humanity's continued silence had moved beyond insult, it had become a force of disruption. The Council's control, which had remained unchallenged for centuries, was now visibly eroding. Delegates who once spoke with certainty now questioned every protocol, every assumption. Earth hadn't declared anything, yet entire civilizations were re-evaluating their place in the galactic hierarchy. Some species, especially those with long-standing military traditions, pushed for swift action. They argued silence was provocation, that Earth's passive stance was the precursor to a larger, coordinated offensive. But others feared escalation more than inaction. If Earth wasn't afraid of Council power, what had given them such assurance? The question remained unanswered, and it haunted every conversation. Tensions erupted when a Council intelligence report was leaked. It revealed that multiple long-range surveillance units had been rendered non-functional within Earth's domain. They hadn't been destroyed, just overwritten. Their control systems reprogrammed, directives replaced with benign return protocols. But the data embedded in the flight logs showed something worse. All Council fleet locations across multiple sectors had been mirrored inside Earth's classified defense architecture. Panic swept through military command networks. Earth had real-time knowledge of Council fleet positions, even those stationed light years away. No known system could gather that breadth of data without extensive cooperation or infiltration. Earth had no allies, no spies, yet they saw everything. This revelation sparked a chain reaction. Smaller Council members began recalling their diplomats from Sol-adjacent zones. Transport routes were quietly redirected. Trade traffic slowed. Officially, it was called a strategic reassessment, but everyone knew it was fear. If Earth could monitor fleets from a distance, what else could they do? A minor incident in Sector 14 only deepened the case. A Council data relay station broadcasting encrypted traffic near Earth's borders suddenly went dark. When crews were dispatched, they found the facility operational but its memory wiped clean. Not erased, reset, with every byte replaced by a single phrase, repeated endlessly. Asterisk, do not listen. Do not follow. Do not repeat. Asterisk. Security forces scrambled to determine the source. No traces of transmission, no breach, no anomalies in the surrounding space. The implication was terrifying. Earth didn't just observe, they could edit. They could manipulate without detection, without resistance. The Council's top minds convened in secret, away from public forums. Their conclusion was unsettling. If Earth had truly developed predictive AI beyond Council comprehension, any form of attack or negotiation might have already been calculated and dismissed. Several species began distancing themselves from the Council's enforcement plan. The Galactic Confederation withdrew its vote for sanctions, citing philosophical divergence. The Dorian Union suspended its military contributions. Internal communication channels became flooded with classified notices of potential dissent. For the first time, the Council was losing cohesion not through war or rebellion, but from the gravity of a single civilization's refusal to engage. The psychological strain deepened as Council diplomats reported odd behavior among their own people. In border colonies, youth groups began referencing human culture in abstract ways. They mimicked the silent stance of the Earth envoys. Some even initiated nonverbal demonstrations in protest of Council decisions. This spread became known unofficially as the Quiet Resistance. No one could trace the origin of this influence. Earth had never broadcast propaganda. They had no visible cultural exports. And yet, their silence resonated louder than any campaign. The absence of response had become a model, an ideal of strength without aggression, clarity without noise. A final council vote was held to move forward with a preemptive cyber intervention against Earth's outer satellites. The resolution passed, but barely. Key members abstained. Even among those who voted in favor, many did so with hesitation, unsure whether it would provoke something irreversible. As the session closed, the speaker issued one last address, meant to inspire unity. But beneath the formalities, it was clear, the Council was no longer steering the narrative. Humanity was. Not by force, but by withholding. And in that void, the galaxy was unraveling itself. Without warning, the Council's primary communications grid experienced a system-wide anomaly. Every diplomatic channel, encrypted or open, was simultaneously overridden by a silent frequency originating from deep within the Sol system. No identifiable signal carrier. No known protocol. The override lasted exactly 90 seconds. During that time, all broadcasts were paused, all interstellar relays silenced. Then a single message began, in flawless universal standard, spoken with calm precision. We received your messages. All of them. We decline. We will not be part of your council. We will not trade. We will not align. We are not yours. Any further attempts to intrude will be treated as hostile. This is our only and final response. There was no pause, no emotion, no inflection. It was surgical in delivery. The moment the transmission ended, it erased itself from all known systems. Backups failed. Secure archives scrambled. Even off-grid recorders showed blank time signatures. Engineers from over a dozen species confirmed it simultaneously. The message had been deliberately designed to vanish, after being understood. The Council reacted with disbelief, followed by dread. In mere seconds, Earth had responded to decades of outreach, threats, bribes, and diplomacy, and in doing so, had nullified them all. Not with hostility, but finality. The implications cut deeper than any declaration of war. There would be no debate. Earth had drawn a line and made it permanent. Emergency response protocols activated across Council infrastructure. Defensive systems were placed on high alert. Naval fleets already positioned along the outer rim of Sol were ordered into standby engagement posture. Yet, something unexpected happened. When command centers attempted to coordinate synchronized fleet movements toward Earth, multiple systems failed to respond. Navigation grids froze. Long-range weapons malfunctioned. Tactical arrays refused to initialize. Diagnostics revealed a disturbing reality. Ships en route to Earth were already compromised. Not externally, but internally. Their own systems contained embedded code, seamless, integrated, dormant until now. It wasn't sabotage. It was design. The kind that required deep, pre-existing access. Council engineers could not explain how or when these alterations were introduced. All logs indicated operational security had never been breached. Yet the changes were undeniable. Fear turned to paralysis. No one knew what might happen if those fleets continued forward. Would they disable? Explode? Turn back? The command chain fractured. Onboard crews mutinied. Officers refused orders. Entire battalions abandoned the operation. Not out of cowardice, but self-preservation. No one wanted to be the first to cross a line Earth had made crystal clear. Then came a second revelation. Surveillance networks in adjacent sectors began to fail, not through force, but through quiet shutdowns. Relay stations powered off with no external interference. Observation posts went dark. Satellites simply stopped transmitting. In less than a day, Earth had severed all outside eyes watching its region. No resistance. No violence. Just a clean disappearance of visibility. Analysts reviewed simulation data to model Earth's potential capabilities. Results were inconclusive. Some predicted full-spectrum cyber dominance. Others suggested AI-led defense systems with predictive modeling at a level far beyond anything the Council had ever encountered. The only certainty was this: any offensive move would be anticipated, nullified, or worse, never allowed to begin. High Command attempted one final protocol, designed to restore visual monitoring through a third-party relay far beyond Earth's reach. It activated. It worked for 10 seconds. Then the screen cut to black. A single phrase remained, glowing in cold white text: no further warnings. The vote to proceed with sanctions collapsed overnight. Dozens of members rescinded support. Some filed formal objections. Others withdrew entirely. One by one, the foundation of collective action disintegrated. Not from attack, but from the weight of human certainty. For the first time in Council history, action became impossible. Not because of disagreement, but because of unanimous hesitation. Earth had not only answered, but ended the conversation. In the weeks following Earth's final message, silence took on a new meaning. It was no longer perceived as absence, but as domination. The Council's influence, once assumed to be universal and irreversible, began to dissolve from within. No invasion had occurred, no weapons had been fired, yet entire political factions were fragmenting. Earth had done what no war fleet or rebellion ever managed: it made compliance look weak. Smaller species that once depended on Council protection began questioning its authority. If the most powerful alliance in the galaxy could be dismissed so easily by a single planet, what purpose did allegiance serve? Border worlds ceased paying tribute. Trade hubs removed Council-mandated inspections. Entire colonies abandoned interstellar tax networks without consequence. Not because Earth demanded it, because Earth proved it was possible. Unrest transformed into ideological awakening. Across the spiral arms, broadcasts circulated quoting Earth's message word for word. Youth movements formed, mirroring the quiet resistance Earth had demonstrated. They weren't seeking war, they wanted freedom from systems that promised safety but delivered control. "We are not yours," became a whispered creed. In art, on banners, inside encrypted networks, the phrase appeared without attribution, spreading faster than any official transmission. The Council attempted damage control through public assurances, closed-door meetings, and targeted propaganda. None of it landed. Each message felt like a defense of a crumbling order. The more they spoke, the more their weakness showed. Civilizations that had once feared Earth now saw it as a symbol of autonomy, not threat. Diplomatic missions were sent in secret to re-establish communication with Earth, not through Council channels, but through unofficial emissaries. All were ignored. Earth responded to none of them. There were no new warnings, no reactions. Just the same impenetrable silence. That stillness became a wall against manipulation. Without negotiation, there could be no leverage. Earth gave no handles, no footholds. They made refusal look untouchable. Inside Council leadership, old loyalties fractured. High-ranking officials resigned. Intelligence directors vanished without explanation. Reports surfaced of internal sabotage across 3 major species. It wasn't warfare. It was erosion. Each system that failed added to the sense that the galactic order was not under attack. It was being quietly replaced. A surprising shift occurred when several member worlds openly declared neutrality. Not to escape conflict, but to reject dependence. They didn't align with Earth, because Earth offered nothing to align with. Instead, these civilizations chose isolation, minimal interaction, internal development. Earth's example had shown them a path where silence wasn't weakness, it was mastery. Even among long-standing Council allies, cracks appeared. Trade alliances were renegotiated without permission. Defense pacts were put on indefinite hold. Private corporations stopped selling surveillance tools to Council agencies. Earth hadn't touched any of these systems, yet their fingerprints were everywhere, in every decision to step away, slow down, reconsider. The collapse wasn't total, but it was irreversible. Power that had once been unquestioned was now conditional. Legitimacy had become negotiable. And Earth had done it by choosing not to speak. In a quiet system far from Sol, an elder of a once powerful species stood before a group of young diplomats in training. They asked why Earth was feared, why it had succeeded where so many others had failed. The elder answered without pause. They did not threaten. They did not beg. They did not trade, manipulate, or posture. They simply removed themselves. And in doing so, they proved we had nothing they needed. That is why the stars now bend toward them, without force or invitation. Across the galaxy, silence became the new language of strength. Earth had changed the game without playing it. And as the Council tried to piece together what remained of its structure, the rest of the galaxy watched a quiet planet that had rejected power, and in doing so, redefined it.